This is Continuum Drag, a weekly podcast where we revisit sci-fi, fantasy, and just plain weird shows.
This week, Planet of the Apes, episodes 5 and 6.
Why did you take it?
I didn't take anything.
All right, now, we're going to lay down a few ground rules on how to behave, you and me and I. And the first thing is, we trust each other, okay?
Maybe.
And we don't lie, and we don't take things without permission.
I'm tired. I want to sleep.
Let me have the model, please.
I won't.
Now, you're not to take anything unless you have permission. All right, let me have the...
That's a stupid airplane. I don't want it. I hate you. I hate you.
Welcome to Continuum Drag, the podcast version of a sci-fi TV forced labor camp. I'm Luke, here with my co-host Jordan. What's real, Jordan?
That was funny. I like that.
Yeah, you like that one?
Yeah. I think I just find forced labor camps funny. Maybe that's what it is.
Then you must have loved this episode.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm probably more excited about the second episode, but I'll say it right off the bat. I like this episode better than the second episode, so that will be something.
Okay, well, good.
Yeah.
Well, Jordan, I've got something for you.
Oh, I hope it's a record by Paul Schaefer. And what's his face? Greg Evigan.
Greg Evigan? Oh,
Yeah.
If only there were more. There's only 1 year at the top.
Yeah.
No, I have a little segment about the cast, but to do it, I stole your game.
Oh, okay, great.
So now you get to be the playee?
I don't think we've ever done it this way, have we?
No.
My guess will be this is going to go terribly because if I have to remember or know anything, that's like anyone's name, I'm not going to be able to do it.
Well, I made it relatively simple. There's only
Okay.
going to be 5 people. Roddy McDowell,
Yep.
of course, Galen. There's Ron Harper. That's Alan Verdun.
Yeah.
There's James Naughton.
Pete
Burke. Yep. Mark Leonard. That's Urko.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, Booth Coleman, Zaius.
Yes, got it. Okay.
So you can even use their character names. That's just fine.
Yeah, great.
All right, Jordan, let's get into it. Here are your movies. Overboard.
Hold on. The original or
Yeah. Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn.
Okay.
Pearl Harbor, the one by Michael Bay. The Devil Wears Prada.
I saw The Devil Wears Prada.
Annie Hall, and Norma Ray.
Oh, wow. I've seen most of those. I never saw Pearl Harbor. What was the first one?
The first one's Overboard, Pearl Harbor, Devil Wears Prada, Annie Hall, Norma Ray.
Okay, so the only one I haven't seen of those is Pearl Harbor.
All right. Also, I'm going to give you bonus points for this other grim subcategory. Are they dead or alive?
Oh, are they dead? Okay. Okay, so I got to pick the person for the movie. So your first movie is Overboard, correct?
Correct.
I'm going to say in that movie, the person who was in it was Alan.
Okay.
And the next movie was Battleship Potemkin. What were we doing?
Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor. I have seen Battleship Potemkin. But Pearl Harbor, I'm going to say... I'm going to go to the second part of the duo. I'm going to say Pete was in that one.
Okay.
These are going to be all wrong. I want to have our first words 045. The third movie was...
Devil Wears Prada.
Devil Wears Prada. You know what? I have no idea when Roddy McDowell died or has not died. So I'm going to say Roddy McDowell was in that.
Okay.
And the fourth movie was...
Annie Hall.
Annie Hall. Let's say old Urko was in it.
Okay. That leaves only Norma Ray.
Yeah, it's got to be Dr. Zaius. I believe he also played Dr. Zaius in that movie. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's 100% correct.
Yeah.
You actually got 2 out of 5.
Hey, that's not bad.
You got, yes, Urko was in Annie Hall, and Dr. Zaius was in Norma Ray.
Wow, those would not be the two I thought.
It's pretty impressive.
It's not. It's 2 to 5.
I mean, that's true.
It's poor. It's
below
below
average. Devil Wears Prada, Pete Burke, James Naughton. He's very much alive and well.
Good for him. Do you think he's still in good shape?
He is. I've seen him. He looks good, actually. He aged very well. Pearl Harbor was Alan Verdun, Ron Harper, and Overboard was Roddy McDowell.
He was in Overboard. Now, is he dead?
Yes.
And did he die a long time ago?
Yes. 1998.
I that is a long time ago. So he didn't even get to see Battlestar. What was that movie called?
Overboard.
Oh no,
Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor. He didn't even get to see Pearl Harbor.
He didn't even get to see it.
That's what he said on his dying breath. He was like, "Please let me see," and then he died. He couldn't even get it out. And what we knew that what was the movie he wanted to see, which was
Overboard.
No,
Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor. Oh man. Oh, I honestly, it's getting worse.
Maybe someone can diagnose you via this podcast.
Yeah, like my memory is just I'm like an insect.
All right, Ron Harper, Alan Verdun, dead or alive?
Oh, I hope they're both alive.
Pete and Burke and Verdun?
Yeah.
You're right, they're both alive.
Yeah. Well, they weren't. They were only men in their 30s. So.
What about Urko and Zayas, though?
Oh, Zayas is dead. I think Urko's alive.
No, both dead.
They're both dead.
All the apes didn't make it.
Yeah.
Only the humans lived.
Well, I wonder if there was some lasting effects of having to wear full fur costumes with clothes in like 100-degree weather.
I'm going to give you a few little fun trivia fits that I found while I was building this game. Roddy McDowell, I haven't watched it yet, and we'll have to find it later. He did a guest spot during this TV show on the Carol Burnett show where he showed up in full ape costume and sung a love duet with her.
Okay, that is pretty good. That's pretty good.
I would love to watch that.
Yeah.
Urko, Mark Lenard. I don't know if you knew this. He's Sarek from all of the Star Trek.
Oh, really?
Yeah. 1, 3, 4, 6, TNG, the original.
Wow.
Yeah, he's Sarek.
It's interesting because the ape makeup really is the prominent like nose to chin.
Mm-hmm.
So you really get no sense of what these people look like underneath. Like obviously expressive eyes and that sort of thing, but you could put anyone under there and it's like, it could be guest star Wilt Chamberlain. I'm trying to think of the 70s. And you'd be like, oh, wow, look at that tall
very
ape.
tall ape.
Yeah.
Also, a little fun fact about Mark Lenard. He was also the first actor to play a Romulan, a Vulcan, and a Klingon.
That's pretty good. So he was an actor who he was called to be in prosthetics a lot.
Yeah. I think that is
like
the
this
case.
actor never complains. Stick him in another costume.
And then I have two fun little trivia facts about Booth Coleman, who played Zayas.
Go for it.
One, his former teacher, Maurice Evans, was the original Zayas.
His acting teacher?
Yeah.
Oh, weird.
From the original film. So he would take over for his acting teacher in the TV show.
Oh, can I guess what the next fact is?
Sure.
It was his real hair.
How did you know?
Wouldn't that be something?
That would be amazing. No, my sub trivia fact for him was he played Scrooge 600 times in Detroit.
Like people wanted him to? He was paid for that?
I assume so. That's one of his trivia facts is he played Scrooge over 600 times at a theater in Detroit over the course of his life.
What an odd fact. Good for him though.
Yeah, he lived a full life.
Yeah.
Ape suits.
I enjoyed that, even though I only got 2 out of 5.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed doing it. Although I realize now, as I was reading off the actors and the roles, I just read them in order. If you had just guessed them in order, you would have been right.
Like our characters in the show, I just have like flop sweat at all times. So I was just so worried that I was going to forget all the titles. And in fact, that came true and I did forget all the titles. And I still couldn't tell you what they were.
Well, sitting on the other side of the table this time, I realized how hard your job is.
Yeah. That's all I was hoping for.
All right. Let's get into the IMDb summary for episode 5, The Legacy.
That's a good title.
Burke and Verdun discover a holographic message from scientists from their own time, which might help them find out what happened to their world while exploring the ruins of Oakland. That was courtesy of Ape Freak.
Oh, it's Ape Freak. He's back.
Yeah, Ape Freak's back.
Sorry, excuse me. She's back. Let's assume Ape Freak's a woman.
Okay.
I think.
Sure.
There could be women Ape Freaks.
One could only assume.
Yeah. So this episode, we go back to that same rubble set.
Yeah, it's we're back.
Like and this is a weird thing because when I first saw it on the last episode or whatever it was 2 episodes ago, I was really excited because it looked great. It still looks great, but I was really disappointed because it just felt like they were just like, well, just write another script that takes place in a Rubble City, and it's a different Rubble City, but it looks exactly the same.
I mean, there's a bit of a tease because they're hiking through the forest again, and we get a little bit of making fun of Galen because he's such a sheltered ape that he's not used to being outside.
Yeah,
which I would love a lot more of that if that's true, like a prissy little Galen. But we get a brief shot of a matte painting, like a really nice matte painting of a destroyed city, and Verdun's like, I'd forgotten what cities look like. I was just like, no, 2 episodes ago you were in a city.
I was excited. I was like, like this, maybe this will be a different kind of change of pace. Like it will be a not destroyed city, but it's the same.
Cut to them walking into the exact same set they were in before. This time followed by a tiny dog who never reappears.
There was a couple lines in the beginning of this that made it seem that Galen didn't really know about these cities, or they're sort of forgotten or very little traveled cities, but this is a large city. There's street upon street upon street, neighborhoods, and there's like, oh, we don't know what's over there.
Well, let's get into it then.
Okay.
I have a thing that I was debating whether I was going to do or not because I spent a few hours and I didn't finish it. But because they were in San Francisco 2 episodes ago, went through the farmland and now are in Oakland, I was like, this is all in the Bay Area. I don't know how well you know the Bay Area.
Not very well.
Well, essentially what I'm going to tell you is, if you think of it this way, is at the tip of sort of a peninsula is San Francisco. And there's water north of it, and there's a bay to the east of it, and the bay goes down south and then cuts back up north. And on the other side, basically exactly where San Francisco is Oakland. So basically they're across a bay from each other right now. So they would have had to essentially travel probably a day or two down along the coast, back up the other side to get to Oakland. So there clearly was some sort of travel there. And I was like, okay, they're naming places. We know there's a farmland, so that's probably in that lower area around the bay now. So I started trying to figure out, I'm like, where have they been? What's been going on? Can I track their journey? So I pulled up that map from the first episode. And obviously, I don't know where they crash landed. It's impossible to say.
But we think it's somewhere in California, right?
Not anymore. Because I looked at the map on the wall, and basically the biggest city on the map, I'm theorizing, has got to be Central City. The city where the apes live, where they brought them for the trial. And essentially, that is basically on the border of Mexico. Not quite. It actually looks like it's in Arizona, just over the border of Arizona from California. And everything north toward where basically the Bay Area would be is not on that map. Like, it is beyond that Central City's like knowledge base.
Right.
So I think they actually they're traveling into basically uncharted territory, or at least like unsettled territory.
Right.
Because they would have had to travel from basically Phoenix, walking all the way up to San Francisco, and then now they're like looping around the bay. And even in the like second episode, they're down by the beach and they're guessing which beach it could possibly be, but they seem to still be along that like barrier in California.
Right.
So I think if I get around to it again, I'm going to try to build a map where I try to guess where these people journeyed from.
Well, I think that's a wonderful use of your time. But more importantly, I think you're already probably giving way more thought into this than the writers did. I think they just thought it was fun to yell out city names.
I don't know. We always say that. We always say it's like they didn't put it. I feel like it's probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, maybe.
I think I'm definitely putting too much thought into it, but I feel like it's not thoughtless because there's enough continuity, even if it's not perfectly combined. It's that thing that I think that makes these kind of sci-fi shows work, is it's giving you just enough detail that your mind can run wild, and it's what makes a fan base like excited.
Right.
It's why we hate prequels, because we didn't want that information filled in, but you gave us enough that we can kind of build the mental map in our head. And I feel like that's kind of this. Yeah, I agree. They definitely did not plan the entire trip, but I feel like it must be somewhere in the middle, from not thinking at all to like overthinking it. I think this show must be somewhere in the middle.
Well, we know the couple cities they're being in now, so let's see going forward if your map's accurate.
If it seems like they're still on a straightforward journey, I'll build a map. I'll try to put where the episodes happened in my head.
Right. So, anyways, they come to Rubble City, which we find out as Oakland.
Yeah, and they find the Oakland Science Institute, which inside they dig out a vault, and there's a vacuum sealed like door, and inside is a fancy electric cabinet that once they push the button, a hologram pops up.
But what I like is the vault is covered in rubble, and so the actors have to move all the rocks, but the rocks clearly have no weight to them. And so there's a couple times where they're really kind of, acting, but then at the very end of one of the scenes, they clearly just need to keep going in the scene, and Pete just tosses a couple bricks aside like they're feathers, and I loved it. It was just like, yeah, all right, there's a couple more bricks. But I mean, it is what
Styrofoam bricks.
Yeah.
Classic move.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, yeah, there's a very Star Wars-esque sort of technology where this computer, which by the way, they were able to turn that thing on real easy.
There's only like 3 buttons.
All it tells them, and we don't even get the whole message, is that basically this is being left by people from the past, and what the hologram is saying is, by the way, there's a whole bunch of information might be useful to people in the future. Actually, I think they say knowledge. There's a lot of knowledge that will be useful. What we've done is we've put it all over the place in little secret places. And if you sort of go from place to place, you'll get clues to go to the other place. A la this is what this TV show is going to be about now. It's finding these little hidden caches.
Hidden caches, yeah, they definitely are making up for the loss of that disc from episode 3. Yeah, it's definitely felt like, here's your new goal. There's hidden caches everywhere. Go find them. And unfortunately, the hologram dies before it can say where in Oakland it is. But it kind of gives them a mission for the episode. They're like, all right, we got to build a battery so we can see the rest of this hologram. And we actually get a very detailed description of how a battery works, but
that's right. It goes on for a while. They're like going on about copper and stuff. I was like, guys, no one cares.
They really went through all the steps of how you would build a battery in like a post-apocalyptic world. But basically cuts to them like gathering copper wire out amongst the sort of ruins. And this guerrilla patrol comes along and is very suspicious. Did you notice? I mean, we know they're using the same set they did last time, but did you notice the leader of that guerrilla patrol was wearing Memo's vest?
I didn't. I should have caught that. No,
it had the big M on it. It wasn't Memo.
So, but you know what probably happened?
Well, they shot him back to back.
Well, no, I think he killed.
Memo got killed?
He got killed, and the guy took his... This is Marvin. And he's like, well, that works for me, too.
My name's Marvin.
So he just puts the jacket on.
Oh, poor Memo.
But yes, they just shot it back to back is what it was.
Yeah. So they see them. Our heroes decide to split up and run. And Verdun kind of says before they go, they're like, hey, split up and run. We'll all meet back within 24 hours at the Oakland Science Institute. But if one of us doesn't make it back, go on without them. Mm-hmm. A real ominous opening to this. Because essentially... they run away. Verdun tries to hide with this woman, Arn, who we'll come to know a little bit more later. But while he's hiding with her, this little street kid named Kirik rats him out to some apes.
And played by who?
Jackie Earle Haley.
And he looks pretty much the same, right?
I don't know about that. He looks adorable.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell. Once you know it's him, you can tell that it's him.
What's he from? For the listener.
Most probably prominently Watchmen. The not very good RoboCop remake. He was in that.
The not very good Friday the 13th remake.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. His specialty is making not very good remakes.
Well, he was in that movie Little Children, that indie movie.
That's right.
Which is quite good, actually.
He's a really good actor.
He really is, and it's really fun because he's got to be 9 in this,
something like that. Yeah.
He's quite little, but yeah, his character basically rats Verdun out for like an apple.
Yeah. No, but it's not even an apple. It actually looks like an onion, and that's what I'm hoping he got because he ravenously eats that onion. They're like, we'll give you food. He's like, oh, yeah, they're over there. Give me that onion.
You brought this up last time because you were saying Burke was going to be the all-time score leader for Captured by Apes.
I know.
Verdun ties it up 3-3.
Yeah. It's. I think it's pretty much safe to say that every episode, at least one of them will be captured.
Someone's getting caught by an ape.
Yeah, it's got to happen. So, yeah, he gets captured, and they bring them to... I think it's now... Do they bring him to, like, the very large, weird prison that they put him in, which is just a building?
It is very weird. Let's come back to that for a second. Okay. I want to actually blow through this one side story of the episode. Is after Verdun doesn't show up, we kind of keep popping back to Galen and Burke, who are building this battery and trying to get this hologram to work so they can find out where this knowledge is.
What a boring B-plot, by the way.
Well, and the entire time Galen's like, we got to go save Verdun. And Burke's like, eh.
Yeah.
He said not to.
I got the sense, and maybe you agree or disagree with me. Do you get the sense that Alan and Galen are now better friends than Alan and Pete? That's the sense I get.
It was like Burke just kept saying, he's the commander. He ordered us not to go look for him. So I'm just going to build this battery. At one point, even Galen's like really fretting. He's like, well, it's been 24 hours. We really need to go look for him. And Burke's like, all right. I just got to go take a nap first. And he goes off. He's like, I'm going to go take a quick nap. It does seem like Burke has no urgency to ever go find him.
Also, let's say you and I are these two astronauts and you're the one in charge. You're the whatever sergeant, or I don't know what the astronaut captain. And we get to the planet and then we know we're never going to get back home. We're stranded. And you're like, I'm in charge. I ordered you to do this. I'd be like, meh. You know?
I mean, that is Burke.
Once the authority's gone, I mean, it's like... Oh.
I feel like Burke's been like that this entire time. He's kind of been like, to everything.
Yeah.
And this is basically a convenient excuse. He's like, nah, he ordered us not to, so...
Yeah, fair enough.
I know, Burke really left him behind, and Galen was quite upset by it. But essentially, they'll go on a little bit of their own side plot where they don't find him, and they build the battery.
But pretty soon, if it's not the next scene, we get Urko and Zayas back, and it's the first time they've been back in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually get to see that those signal stations again, where they're flashing the lights.
They look like reflective coconuts.
They're reflective coconuts. Which I think I brought this up that episode there. I was trying to figure out how much communication they do with this. Apparently, it runs statewide because they get that back to Central City from all the way up to Oakland. Oakland to Phoenix, that's a long way to go.
I bet you they're it's true. I bet you they're long shifts.
Oh, absolutely. Got to be a couple guys up there, right?
Yeah, I mean, because how much sunlight do you think they're getting in California?
Oh, man.
At least you probably get at least 12 hours, right?
Yeah, easy.
So that's a long shift. They're probably breaking that up.
Absolutely. And I mean, once the sun goes down, you just look at those stars.
Yeah, that's it. There's no more signaling after that.
You don't need to do any signaling. So maybe it's a cherry job at night.
But anyways, Urko and Zayas come back because they're called in, basically.
Yeah, because they've got Verdun.
Yeah.
They got him tied up.
And the two, there's an interesting thing here that I don't know if they play enough with, but what you get is that the different way of looking at things from Zayas and Urko. And Urko's is kill him. We want to kill him because we don't want people to know what they know, and it will, the idea is the world will stop existing the way we have it right now if they knew what these astronauts know. And Zayas is always a little bit more, not conniving, but he doesn't go at it straight
yeah,
ahead.
He has a longer game in mind.
Yeah, and so what does Zayas want to do?
Well, what's funny is we get a brief scene where this debate comes up because Urko's trying to beat the location of Galen and Burke out of Verdun, and they get a classic scene where Zayas disagrees with his methods. The only reason I bring that up is because they're having this fight, and like Zayas is just like, this is going to cost you some influence on the High Council if you fuck this up. Urko's just sitting there chewing a piece of celery the entire time.
Yeah, it was great.
I was like, this is great.
And also, he was doing a good job with that makeup and able to eat at the same time.
Oh, it was very, I like, it was until the scene was over that I realized, I'm like, oh, how is he eating that piece of celery?
Yeah, he did a good job.
But really what it is Zayas has another plan to get this information. And it is a great plan.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly was just like, this is genius. He's found a photo on Verdun that we've seen earlier of Verdun's family, a wife and a son. They've come up before. They're a little freaked out by how they take these photos, but that's beside the point, so they don't dwell on it. But essentially, he goes out, picks up Carrick, the boy who ratted him out, picks up Arn, the woman he was hiding with. Both look like his family in that, like, one's a blonde woman, one's a little kid. They force all three of them into a castle that I don't know why that castle is in Oakland.
Yeah, it just
is. They make up some sort of excuse about some sort of oil tycoon.
Yeah, they just threw the line in really quick, and I was like, okay, sure.
It did seem like, hey, there's a castle available. You want it? Like, yeah, we do. They toss him in there and basically lock them up. And Stasis' plan basically is he's going to become attached to these people because they'll remind him of his family. He'll build a small family unit. He'll eventually just tell them everything he knows because he'll just trust them. Mm-hmm. And this little rat kid will just tell us.
Yeah, because they're paying the little rat kid in food. He's basically an informer. He's planted in there.
He's going to get so many onions.
Yeah. They call it something else in this world, though. Goobu Goobus or something.
Goobu Goobus.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is an excellent plan built toward his weaknesses, Verdun's particular weaknesses. And it's kind of one of these things if it's badly written, this is like comes off probably as like lazy, but it actually felt like a smart, well thought out plan by Zayas. And I was just like, of course he's going to fall for this. This is his exact weakness.
Yeah, but Urko is not enjoying the plan at all. He's just he sort of just comes in every now and then, but like, can I just kill him? Like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't want the long game.
Yeah, at some point Urko even is just like, listen, I'm just going to do a grid sweep of the city. We don't have time for this. And I think the both of them working together are actually a pretty good team.
Well, I mean, it is a good we're gonna try to I don't know what you'd even call that. I guess emotionally manipulating the one guy into feeling comfortable to give secrets. Well, while you're doing that, we're just going to go and try to kill the other guys in the meantime.
Yeah,
it's a good two-prong attack.
They were even like, we're going to do a grid search of the city. It'll be very thorough. Like, yeah, you guys are going to get them. You're going to do it.
And it is kind of what happens. So like, what's his face realizes very quick, Alan, that he can't really escape.
Yeah.
But he also realizes that they don't seem to want to kill him.
They just want to keep him there. He's suspicious, but he can't figure it out. And he very quickly, he immediately starts bonding with his family. Like, there's so much family time. He's like teaching the kid to do handshakes. He builds him a little toy plane.
Well, my favorite thing about this though is very quickly he starts stepdadding the kid, which is what I felt like. It's like, I'm the new dad. Let me tell you how it's like. And it was like, and the kid responded just like it was something. What was he broke the plane, right? He breaks the plane.
Yeah, at some point he breaks the plane and he gets a talking to. Like there's he like gives him lectures on morality because the kid's a little thief. He likes to steal things and he's trying to teach him the right way. And he's like really flirting it up with Arn, the lady who's there. It's this really like they have a family dinner. It really is a whole family thing.
Also, he takes the time to evidently carve an airplane.
Yes.
Why didn't he just carve a knife or something?
Well, the kid can't play with a knife.
I know, but try to escape.
He actually says at some point he's going to wait 24 hours because he wants to like let his friends have a chance to like get away, I guess. It was all perfunctory for him to build this family relationship. But as he does, he starts telling them, about the old world and the wonders of old human technology. They're all very wowed, like they're interested in his stories because they've all lost hope in this future. And then he's just like, well, I think there is more hope because we found a bank of knowledge at the old Oakland Science Institute where my friends are hanging out. Yeah, they're really happy. And it's been funny because Kirk's been like, the kid's been trying to like sneak the information out of him.
Yeah.
But like he doesn't push too hard, so Verdon's not catching on. But finally he tells him and the kid's like, oh, now I know. But we kind of have this scene afterward where, this is what you're talking about, he steals the little toy plane and he's playing with it. And that's when Verdun comes out and starts giving him like a big stepdad lecture about stealing things. And the kid gets mad. It's like, I hate you.
I hate you. I agree. It was great.
I know, he's yelling, I hate you. And he smashes the plane. Of course, runs out, finds an ape guard, rats out Burke and Galen. And then he comes back in, and in that space of like 10 minutes while he's been gone, Verdun's rebuilt the plane.
Mm-hmm.
And Arn, the mum figure, is just like, he built it for you. Don't feel bad. And the kid just starts crying. He's like, I ratted you all out. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So it worked, but it all happened really quick.
It happens all in a heartbeat. And now that Kirik, the kid's back on Verdun's side, they come up with a plan to like distract a guard, and he jumps off a roof, and there's like another like
I do love though that he said at one point, the kid says, oh yeah, there's a way out, I just didn't tell you. And the way out really just is like an open door. There happens to be a guard out there, but it's like you could just walk out at any point. But it seemed like Alan never did actually go around and check in this castle.
There was only that one scene where he jumps out of when he jumps in this guard's this window, and he was tugging at the rails. Like it did seem like it would be easy to escape, but that they had them pinned down with guns.
Right.
But when it comes time to escape, they weren't as pinned down as it seemed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because Urko took all those forces to go do a grid sweep.
Yeah, it backfired.
It all makes sense logically in this show. Essentially now, it's a bit of a race across town because they want to get back to the Oakland Science Institute to see if they can find Burke and them.
So the kid mentions at one point, a couple scenes before, I travel through by sewers. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And then what we find out is, yes, the apes are going to try to get to the science center or wherever it was.
Well, they're going to the science center to see if they can. They're getting close. Because they got the information that that's where they're hiding.
Right. But what bugged me was the kid goes, we can get there faster by taking the sewers. And I was like, yes, let's go into sewers. Let's see what that looks like. We do not get to see the sewers.
You get to see them lifting a manhole and they pop up.
Like what a bummer.
That's true. They didn't have a sewer set.
I know, but like that would have made this more interesting. Like imagine this whole episode was them kind of like sneaking through the sewers and stuff. I was like, that's pretty cool, but that's not what this episode is.
You don't get that at all. But they get back to the Science Institute. Urko and Zaius, sorry, trying to remember all these ape names. They show up at the Science Center too, and they kind of hide while Zaius like gets this hologram machine working.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically watch the whole thing because the battery's been completed, and basically the hologram finishes his story about where they've hidden the knowledge in Oakland, which is at a train station in Midtown. And now after racing to the Oakland Science Institute, they have to race to this train station so they can save Galen and Burke from this.
Right, and I jumped ahead a little bit, and this is so they're racing, but they have to get through all the rubble, and that's why the kid wants to take the sewer because it's faster than trying to get horses over rubble.
And they basically jump right to the Midtown train station. They've got a huge like 1970s computer. It's got like reel to reel and like little computer printers.
Yeah, it was great
paper
looking.
Spitting out of it. There we go. I got the word out. And Verdun comes down. He's like, "Hey, it's great you found all this knowledge, but we have to abandon it. Like they're on our tails. We can't die for this." And they basically have to run away before they can learn anything about kind of what knowledge was left behind. And Urko and Zaius arrive. It's kind of an interesting turn here is because Urko kind of like, once he sees it, he's just like, maybe I want a piece of this knowledge. Like it would make me pretty powerful. I like having this power over my people.
It's a good point.
And over the council. But Zayas does a good job. He talks him out of it kind of by building his paranoia. He's just like, but what if one of your men got the information? And then Eriko's like, you're right. Let's burn this whole mother down.
Yeah. But what I like was that the whole time the computer just keeps spitting out paper. It just keeps printing. I'm like, what was it printing?
I don't know. They turned it on and started printing paper immediately. Yeah. Just blank paper.
You know what it was? It was 5,000 years ago. The printer wasn't working. And so they just turned it off. And then when they came to turn it back on, you're just printing whatever that document that guy had.
I was impressed because they said it was cemented. It was like cemented in this place. I don't know how Galen and Burke managed to get past the cement wall, but they really did a good job while we weren't watching them.
Yeah, they just also didn't mention there was just a door.
Yeah. Oh, there's a door too, though.
Yeah, we cemented it all, but we also put a door. So
because we want you to get in.
Yeah.
I did like this though because now that Urko and Zayas are like burn it down, you see them lighting the computer paper on fire, and the camera pushes on the computer paper, and we suddenly cut to stock footage of an oil refinery exploding.
Oh, it was wonderful.
It was great. It was like a huge explosion of it. I'm just like, that's not a train station.
Yeah, I know. It was great though. Yeah, it was just the juxtaposition of the two was so drastic. Of this one tiny little flame to we're like, okay,
yeah, well, it really exploded, that computer.
Mm-hmm.
And the episode just kind of wraps up with they've escaped. They have to dump these two characters. They're not bringing this woman and this kid along with them for the rest of the show. So they're like, hey, don't you have a dead husband who's got a brother who's got a farm? Let's drop you off there.
Which is like right outside town. But what I felt like, didn't it feel like they were, because she didn't want to go back to the farm and she wasn't talking about it. My assumption was it was an abusive relationship and they're just dropping her right back in there.
I don't know if that was my assumption. But
that was mine. I was just like, oh, don't leave this woman there. But I like the hit while Alan's having the goodbye with the kid and the woman, who I don't know. Creek was the kid's name. What was her name?
Arn
and Creek, or Crick, something like that.
Keurig?
I thought it was Creek, but anyways, Jane's gonna hate that. They like Pete just goes over and like meets the farmer and he's like, yeah, everything looks good.
Yeah. Well, they need some private time with the family he'd built. So Galen and Burke just hung out with this farmer they just met. Anyway, that's
worked out.
Yep, that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the IMDb summary for episode 6. Let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's Tide.
Best title so far.
Yeah, you like Tomorrow's Tide?
Yeah, I loved it. Wouldn't you read that book?
Sure, why not?
If there was a cover and there was two guys swimming and there's a shark coming after them and there's monkeys on the coast and then it says Tomorrow's Tide, I'd be like, yeah, sold.
Oh, you know what? If you made pulp like novel covers for each one of these episodes with these titles, they would actually be really good.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. So this synopsis summary has been edited for length. It's really long.
Hey, we'd like to thank you for rushing in there and telling them we were liars. It was a big help.
Well, I couldn't think of anything else to do. And besides, if I hadn't found you, you two would have been banded as fishermen for the rest of your lives.
Hey, we got to do something. There's a big wheel that's coming in here tomorrow.
That's Bandor. He's in charge of many of the producing areas, and he's the one who presides over the banding of the fisherman ceremony.
Galen, you're pretty thick with Hurton, aren't you? Can't you get us out of here?
I am primarily concerned that Hurton's patrols do not find Gato. I mean, if he points you two out, you will be killed instantly.
While walking on an ocean beach with Galen, Verdun and Burke see a condemned man lashed to a raft in the water. That was courtesy of Dinky 4 of Minneapolis.
Dinky. Let me say, I was really excited at the beginning of this episode because after already reusing Rubble Time City,
right,
we're by water. We're on a beach.
We're on a beach. It's a new environment.
It looks new, and I was really excited about what was going to happen. And the first half of this is pretty good.
All right. Before we get too far into it, I want to propose an alternate title for Tomorrow's Tide.
Okay.
I think this episode should have been called "Waiting for Bandor."
No, that was going to be my point. The second half of this episode, well, look, we'll get to it momentarily.
I would say Bandor shows up in the final 10 minutes, but for the 40 minutes preceding it, everyone's like, wait till Bandor gets here.
I know. And
when Bandor gets here.
Let me just say, Bandor is a real disappointment. But it just screeches to a halt at some point. It's like, this is an exciting, fun, silly episode. And then about 20 minutes in, they went, nope, wait for Bandor. Everyone, let's just sit and twiddle our thumbs. And it's like, what happened?
I don't know. I don't know if I disliked it as much as you did, but I just they kept teasing Bandor, and at a certain point, I'm like, I hope he never comes. I hope Bandor just never shows up.
It's got this very like dark ending. They just wait forever.
Where's Bandor?
Yeah. End of the series.
But yeah, it starts off on this beach. We get to watch them kind of wandering along. They see this raft that was in the summary.
Mm-hmm.
An old man has been lashed to it, and they're like, "Oh, we better go save him." They swim out, which was fun.
Take their shirts off.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And they don't wear shirts at all this episode.
Oh well, it's a full swimming episode.
Yeah,
it's great because they swim out there, they grab the raft, and as they turn around to swim back, just a shark fin swims in front of them, and I was like, "Whoa!"
I know, and okay, we know what time period it is, but here's a point I was going to make. So this show was made in 1974. And the shark looks, they do a lot of shark scenes in this. And there's the really bad looking fin that you could buy in like any novelty store.
Yes.
And then cut with shots of sharks that don't look like they're in
a lot
the
of
same.
stock photography.
Now, Jaws came out in 1975.
So you think this inspired Jaws?
No, what I'm saying is they could have done a lot better.
I don't think they do the worst job. We'll get into it in a little bit, but they do swap between a fake fin, like a full fake shark at some point,
Yeah.
and then like a lot of stock footage of it. You know, they didn't have the budget to bring sharks
Fair
in.
enough.
It is fun they even tried. I was just like, this is exciting.
But the point of the scene is you were like, oh no, there's going to be a shark attack. I can't believe this. No, the shark just swims away.
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a tease. I thought that was going to be the only shark we got. We end up getting a lot more sharks in this episode, but there's just like a quick moment where we see a shot of a shark, and I was like, whoa, they really didn't get into that. But I'm like, oh, okay, it's a bit of a tease.
Yeah.
But essentially who they save on this thing is this old man,
Gatto.
They sort of drag him back to a cave, and he's basically constantly being like, leave me, I'm dead. It's the will of the gods.
He's
I'm
a real
dead.
he's a real downer too, huh? I thought him and Pete would probably get along.
Yeah. He's basically whatever religion he follows, it's his time to go. He should be dead. You dragged him out of, he basically dragged him back to life. He doesn't want to be alive. My favorite part about it, though, is they're trying to talk sense to him, and Galen's just standing there, and Galen's just like, well, you heard him. Let's get out of here. He wants to die. What do we do? And it was so callous, but so fun. Like Roddy McDowell played it so funny.
Well, he played it very similar to the first episode where they're like, how is the guy doing? And he's like, he's dead.
Yeah.
It was the same consistent sort of, he sees things very literal and very as they are on the page. So it's like, yeah. Well, he wants to die. So what are we talking about?
Yeah, and his view of humans is just like, yeah. He even says it somewhere. He's like, yeah, I've known a few humans whose lives would have been much better off dead.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, well, maybe he should be dead. But essentially, this kind of kicks off the episode. They see Gatto has this this metal band strapped to his arm, which is I guess a symbol that he's part of a forced labor camp.
Yeah.
And Verdun and Burke decide we better go check this forced labor camp out.
Mm-hmm.
What do they do at this forced labor camp, Jordan?
It's not what I thought it was going to be, but what it seems to be is a whole bunch of men, and I only did see men fishing.
Correct.
But so it's a bunch of men wearing just bottoms, and they all have spears, and they're it looks like they're just jabbing the water.
Yeah, they're just spearfishing out there in the ocean.
But a lot of them, and apparently it's real good fishing right at the shore. Yeah. And here's the thing: they talk about, and you probably got more of the details than I did because that's the way our personalities are. But they mention a couple different things, uses of the fish. Obviously, they're eating them, but did they also mention they were using it as fertilizer?
That is what is happening. Is the people who work there eat the fish, but the apes don't eat fish,
right? Because
the apes are vegetarians. The entire premise of this labor camp is to gather fish for fertilizer for their farms.
Right.
This is strictly a fertilizer endeavor. That's all it is. Because basically what happens is Verdun and Burke immediately get caught. So they're now 4-4 on the getting caught list. They're tied still. They're neck and neck.
Also, they know about fertilizer, but they don't know about how to build a fence.
Hey, man. What do you want me to say? They get hauled back to kind of the camp boss, this ape named Hutton, who you come in and he is stressed out. He cannot deal with these two humans. He's just like, I don't know, just kill him. My boss, Bandor, he's up my ass about these fish quotas. I need to get more fish, and he won't get off my ass about it.
and they say Bandor so many times.
He's
Bandor this, Bandor that.
He's constantly complaining about his boss Bandor to a point that I was like, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
This is absolutely you've got a bad boss somewhere, and you're just like, oh, Bandor won't get off me about these quotas I'm not meeting.
Oh, but let me mention something interesting about that ape. What was his name again? Hutton. He's the same type of. He's a chimp, right? Same type of
chimp.
Ape as Galen. He's wearing a very similar outfit, which is the green, whatever you call
tunic
that.
Or something.
Tunic, yeah. But did you notice the interesting thing on it is that he has on each shoulder essentially almost like an epaulet, but it's a fish badge, a
Yeah,
silver fish
a
badge
little-
on each side. And I was like, oh, that was a nice little detail.
It was a nice deal. I noticed it too. I was like, this is like, it's good. It's like building this little world, which is weird because like it's something you could easily forget about. The costume department really went for it.
Old Bando, what's his name?
Hutton?
No, the other
Bandor.
guy. Bandor. He also has a fish on him when he arrives too.
Yeah, they seem to be part of like obviously however the economic system works in Planet of the Apes. There's clearly like sections or like economic sectors of it.
In terms of the costume design, it was a nice little touch. It wasn't a lot. They didn't mention it. It was just, oh yes, he is in a fish industry.
Yeah,
it was good.
it was very nice. I agree. Yeah, he basically is like tells the guard, I don't know, kill these two guys. I can't deal. Like I just can't deal right now. And immediately they start like they're like, oh no, wait, don't kill us. We want to be fishermen. We left a farm to come be fishermen. Then he's like, all right, where are your papers? And they're like, we lost them.
Yeah. So what does he make them do?
He's just like, all right, fine. You want to be a fisherman? Great. But first you got to swim under the lake of fire. You lie, you die.
They call it the burn test, right?
Yeah, the burn test. And it basically drags them out to a lake. Or I guess it must just be the coast somewhere further down. And the water is just on fire.
Yeah, they never explain it. Like, I don't know if they had just lit the water on fire at some point, or there's some sort of environmental disaster where it's always on fire. But whatever's happened, they're using it to the best of their advantage as a way of testing worth of fishermen.
Testing these spear fishermen out.
So take us through the test. What do you have to do?
I mean, it's a pretty simple test. And both our guys are going to not just ace it, they're going to ace it and like one-up it.
Yeah.
Because essentially they're just like, you just got to swim all the way across this body of water, which is on fire, and come up at the other side, and you're a fisherman. Like, we know you can hold your breath long enough. We see one guy do it, swims under, pops up. He's great. Verdun and Burke make a big like show of like, oh, I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. But both of them pop up on the other side, not just alive, but they've speared fishes while swimming underneath the burning lake.
Yeah, which I guess is pretty impressive. They're not fishermen. And they don't know how to, I'm assuming neither one knows a spear, but what we've learned is they're great at everything they try, these two.
Oh, they're very good. Don't they test astronauts in water? Is that how you like learn to be an astronaut? They put you in they put you into the in that pool.
Well, I think you have to get your spear work
right.
top
That's
notch.
That's part of how it works.
Yeah.
But this is very exciting to old Hutton. He's just like, oh my god, I'm desperate for two good producers. Look at these two. They're showing off when they come up with two fish. It's hard for him. He's just like, do you know how long it takes to make a new fisherman? These things take forever to breed.
It was pretty good. It was that it takes so long for these things to grow up.
How am I going to get my quota? You know how long it takes to make a new fisherman?
Yeah, it was good.
So when he has two of them just drop into his lap, he's like, this is the best news. Bandor's going to love this.
Yeah.
Of course, around this time, Galen's been left in the cave with Gatto, and he's just like, oh, what happened to those two guys? So he kind of wanders off he just drops in. He's like, I was going to drop by the forced labor camp, pops in to visit Hut, and he's like, have you seen my two slaves who ran away?
Yeah, and he's immediately suspicious of it. He's like, wait a minute.
Well, Hutton's just like, well, they told me a different set of lies. I don't know who's telling me the truth. And also, I kind of want to keep these producers.
Yeah.
He keeps calling them producers, which I really liked.
Yeah. So
it reminded me of something from like Glengarry Glen Ross.
Right.
Like, we're producers.
Right. There's a lot of like hinting of the religion here. I didn't think it was handled in the most sensitive way. I still think this show has a tendency to talk down about certain things, and it also treats the apes as stupid sometimes, which I always think is not their strongest play.
You see, here's the thing is at first I thought, because this is what happens is they're like, you want your slaves back. I want to keep them. The only thing we can do is let the sea gods decide.
Yeah.
And Galen's like, yeah, sounds great. Who are the sea gods? And he's like, oh, the sharks.
Right.
But I at first took it to be the religion was more related to the humans. Like this was the human sea god because obviously Gatto's convinced of that. But the longer into the episode, I think you're right.
It was the apes, I thought.
I think it was more of a collective, like everyone believes that who lives on the coast, which is kind of interesting because in the farmland, there's clearly like a cowbell god.
Right.
So I think what we're kind of seeing is like, there's no like formal religion in this place. They kind of like latch on to whatever idea kind of suits the environment they live in some ways.
There's sort of this, I just have the knee-jerk reaction of this sort of talking down about it. It's like, can you believe how stupid they are? They think the sharks are gods. And it's like, maybe that was just my own reading into it, but I was just like, oh, guys, like, I don't know.
It wasn't explored enough. I think it's just. I think you're right. Like it wasn't explored enough for it for there to be a clear. Because basically what happens here is they're like, all right, we'll let the sea gods decide. You two just go swim into the ocean with those sharks. But to what end is never explained. I mean, Galen's...
Yeah, we don't know if they were like, are you supposed to just swim back and survive? Or are you supposed to have killed a shark? Whatever. You don't learn that. But what happens is Galen gives them a knife, and I like it's like in the least conspicuous way ever. He just like walks over and he's like, here, take this.
Take this knife.
And they take a knife, and then you get actually a pretty fun scene of them swimming underwater.
A lot of
like,
underwater photography.
A lot of cut back and forth of sharks that are clearly in a different body of water.
Well, they're swimming through that kelp, and at least I think they tried to find sharks in at least reefs or something, so it was like plausible. Mm-hmm. And then there's like a big dummy shark that they like stab under the water, and they come out and they're like conquering heroes because they killed a shark.
Yeah, not only did they pass whatever the test was, but they also killed a shark, which I assume was not part of the test.
But I think that is kind of the problem is like, I wasn't sure if it was like, is the whole point of this just to, all right, you want the slaves, I want the slaves, I'm just going to kill them by sending them into the shark water. Or was there a real test? It was never clear.
Right.
Because even when they come back, Galen's like, well, they survived, so I guess I get my slaves back. And then Hutton's like, let's wait for Bandor. Like, he literally is just like, I know they did survive and you want your slaves back, but you know what? Let's let Bandor decide.
Yeah, and Bandor's pretty much here now at this point. Doesn't he finally arrive?
And he's coming. He's almost here, Jordan.
Yeah, the anticipation couldn't be
Let's
more
not give the listeners
higher.
Bandor just yet.
Right.
Because they kind of come back to the village and like, basically they're just like, well, you got to stay spear fisherman here, but Galen's allowed to hang out with you now. And we don't see much of it, but Verdun and Burke have kind of been like, hey, anybody heard of Gatto around here? Do you guys know Gatto? We found him out in the ocean. Finally, his daughter like materializes in the village. She finally gets the courage to go talk to him. She's like, you found my dad. And they're like, Galen, go take her to see her dad. So Galen like comes out. He's like, if you leave with me, it'll be okay. You won't get shot by the guards because you're walking out with an ape, which I was just like, oh, it was weird.
I know. It was just like, it was a way to get around something. But I was like, is that how it works?
You brought it up earlier that it's only men fishing. And they will say it at some point is that like when Bandor will later arrive, they'll be like, oh, well, we don't need to give this, like, why should we give him his slaves? He stole one of my female slaves.
Right.
Who he describes as worthless. And I'm just like, she could also fit, like, nothing they're doing is hard.
Yeah.
But like, essentially, I guess there's very little stock put in her. So she's able just to walk out with Galen to go visit her father, essentially. And you're right. Basically, this is when Bandor arrives. He's here. He's finally here. He's gonna ban. I love it. They keep calling him Bandor, and he bans the slaves. And they're finally gonna ban these slaves so they can be permanent fishermen at this forced labor camp. Hutton basically brings him into his office. He's like, "Hey, you're not gonna believe this, Bandor." And he's like, "More complaints about the quotas, Hutton?" He's like, "No, I got these great producers. God sent him to me."
Let me say this about Bandor. Bandor looks just like Zaius.
Yeah, he's an orangutan.
Yeah, he's same hilarious Styx haircut. And whatever voice the actor is doing, I think he was trying to be the most annoying person of all time. Was he not?
Oh, I liked it.
No, I know. I like. I
thought he was really hamming it up.
That's what I mean. I think he was going for, oh, you've been waiting for Bandor, huh? And everyone talks about Bandor and how annoying he is. It's like, I'm going to be the most annoying person ever. And he is. He's annoying.
Yeah, he's a jerky boss.
Yeah.
He is a jerky boss. That's it. Like, he keeps talking about how I got these two new producers. They're great. They're gifts from God. And Bandor's like, oh, it's really good. He's like, and then Hutton's like, well, except their owner's here. And he like also wants them back. And he's like, should have known, Hutton. Fucking it up again.
Yeah, right.
Like, he like, it says no. Like, Hutton to Bandor is just like, Bandor's like, you're such a fool. You're always messing this stuff up.
This is a sitcom in itself. Huh?
It is a sitcom. But basically, Bandor's like, you know what? They're good producers. I rule in your favor. Galen's not here. He stole one of your female slaves. That's his slave now. It's like they kind of just wipe it under the table.
Yeah.
And they go out to finally do this banding ceremony, but they can't find Verdun and Burke. And they're like, what's that noise? There's someone shouting down by the ocean. We should head down there and see.
Mm-hmm.
As they head down to the ocean, we cut back to Gatto, Galen, and his daughter, and they're walking back to the forced labor camp. Like, he's bringing them both back. Yeah. And Galen's telling them, he's like, don't worry. We've got a plan. It's going to be great. Everything's going to be fine. I know your dad was sent out to die in the ocean for reasons we haven't gotten into, and no one said. Maybe because he's old? It's unclear. But we're going to get him reintroduced. No one's going to kill him. Trust me, we got a great plan.
Yeah, this plan is something.
Cut to a shot of Galen with his fingers crossed behind his back. Like, actually.
Is that right?
Did you not catch that?
No.
Yeah, he's telling them how everything's sorted out, nothing's going to go wrong, and the camera pushes in, and his fingers are crossed behind his back.
I missed that because I mean, we'll go into it momentarily, but there's like no plan. So what we basically see is, what's his face? Pete and Alan are talking. Like the whole crowd come down to the beach, and they're like check this out. And the two of them go into the ocean, and they have a net for some reason.
They'd stolen a rope and they built it into a fishing net.
And so they pull it out of the water, and of course they've caught a whole load of fish.
Yeah.
And they're basically like, once again, you stupid apes, you don't know how to farm, you don't know how to do anything.
People are stupid too, apparently.
Yeah, and that's true. And they're like, look how many fish we can catch. But here's the part I liked is this is where a Gatto comes in, and he's just like, hey, remember me?
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, so like, you don't want to kill me anymore.
Well, no, what's kind of happening is Galen, because they're watching, and Galen's like, get out there, Gatto, get out there, Gatto. And he's just like, but I should be dead. Like, just get out there and say what I told you to say. Gatto like wanders out in front of them. He's just like, good, pull in the net, good. And then basically Verdun's just like, and this guy invented the net, this Gatto guy.
I know, but it didn't make any sense. It was just like, he's there, and they're like, all right, all's forgiven.
Well, basically, Bandor's like, whoa, these quotas are going to go way up. You guys can catch so many fish. And then they're like, Gatto invented the net. And Hutton's like, yeah, I knew about all of this the whole time. I am a genius, Bandor. Aren't I great? Like, basically, everyone is like sucking up to the boss. It's like an episode of a sitcom where everyone sucks up to the boss, and it all kind of like
works out
because like someone needs to get out of work early, so they like, well, I've got an idea. What if we had a net? Like, and it just like trickles up basically. And they're so impressed, and Verdun and Galen are like, before we put our bands on, these new producing slaves, we got one more thing to show you. And they like throw seaweed off of a raft they've built, and they're like, Bandor, hold this giant reel with a rope wrapped around it. And they just start. Galen gets on the raft. He hates the water, so he's afraid. But there's a whole subplot about how apes are afraid of water, and Galen hates it. But they get on the raft, and they start rafting out, and the rope's slowly falling off of this reel. And finally, they get far enough out, and the rope just falls off the reel, and they're like, well, now what happens? I don't understand this invention. And they just keep paddling away. It's like an insane escape.
Yeah, and they just I liked it though. It was like a magic trick that they were waiting for. At the end, they're like, "Oh, there's no trick. We just got so far away that you can't catch us now."
Yeah, we've just escaped.
Yeah,
it was fun. I did enjoy it too. And they kind of like land back on the beach we first saw them on. And they're so happy to be free. They just start roughhousing on the beach.
Yeah, it becomes like Rocky 3 where they're just running on the beach training. It was very funny, and it was very much like that. Like just guys having fun on the beach.
Yeah, they're trying to throw Galen in the water because they know he hates it. I think one of them throws a rock or sand at him at some point.
Yeah, and that's the episode. They just wrap it up real quick. Everything's better.
It's a real standalone for sure. I think probably one of the most standalone-y. Maybe not, but it felt contained in a very nice way, actually.
So what do you think of these episodes?
It's a good question. Here, you want to just get into the ratings right now?
Yeah, might as well. Unless you have something else you want to say.
No, I guess not. We can just get right into the ratings. Legacy, this holographic thing they find in a place.
My review was 5.5. I wrote boring, 5.5 out of 10. However, talking about it, I think I actually like it a little bit more. Just something about the way you described it, you made me like it a little more. So I'm going to give it a 6.
6A. It's funny. I think I definitely liked it more in the moment, and it felt closer to what the formula has been to me. This first episode was like, the first episode felt pretty strong, kind of like the first time they went to the Broken Down City, but because it was a bunch of repeated, like the same sets, I liked the hologram, the idea they'd buried this stuff, and I liked the plan that was executed on them. You're right, it did drag a bit, but I think I might have given it a higher score before, but I think I'm going to come down to I think I'm going to go to a 6.5.
No, we're pretty close.
I think I've come down and you've come up.
Yeah.
What about Tomorrow's Tide?
Again, I don't know what to feel about this because there's a lot of thoughts of what I think this could have been, and I think there was a lot of promise at the beginning of the episode. We might feel differently about it, but I did not like the second half. The first half, I was all in. I thought it was going to be water battles, getting stranded out in the water, fighting sharks and stuff, and what you get is a couple shark fins going by, and then a lot of waiting for Bandor. So, like, the first half was, I thought, really fun and set it up, so I'm going to give it a pretty high score, but it loses 4 points for waiting for Bandor, so this is also going to get a 6 out of 10.
It was out of 10, but it lost 4 points.
Yeah, it lost 4 points. It was out of 10 of potential and then lost 4.
It's funny. I think when I finished watching them, I thought this held the formula like it did before. I thought it was strong episode, weak episode. But even going through it now, I'm realizing I liked Tomorrow's Tide more than I realized I did. So I'm actually going to call it a 6.52. I think I'm going to just be like, neither of these were as good as they could have been, but they're also much better than the weakest episodes we've seen.
Yeah, I think you're right. What's the second one was probably the worst of this, right?
Yeah, I think I might have given the cage miting one a slightly lower, but now I regret that. I think the farming one was worse.
Which one?
The farming one was worse.
Oh, yeah, that was the worst one. Yeah, I think that's going to be a trend in all shows we watch. If there's an episode just purely on farming, it probably doesn't make for great TV.
Yeah, I think 6.5 is okay. I mean, I could go up to 7 on them.
Don't even bother.
But I think
you got to save
6.5 is the right area.
You got to save it for that next episode, the third time they go back to that rubble city.
Hey, man, if you got it, flaunt it.
I guess.
I guess that about wraps it up for the episode, because I don't have too much more to say. I think we got into almost everything I wanted to talk about. So if you want to reach out to us, talk about these Planet of the Apes episodes we're watching, you can get us at continuumdrag@gmail.com. And what are we going to put up on Instagram and Twitter this week?
Pete barbecue and a fish, maybe.
Oh yeah, just a little barbecue with that fish,
in the tent. Wasn't that weird?
Oh, we got to go back and definitely find him crossing his fingers.
Oh yeah, I'll have to find that.
That was pretty good. You can find those on Instagram and Twitter at Continuum Drag. And I guess that about wraps it up. So Jordan, until next time, it's been good fishing with you.
I guess we'll be waiting for Bandor.
Wait.
Is that a way to end it?
That's a way to end it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Continuum Drag is recorded in Toronto, Ontario. Theme music by James Rexedler. Produced by Jordan Delic and Luke Black. Special thanks to Aaron Yunes, Adam Wheatner, Jeff Hanley, Jane McRae, and Stephen Packard.